President Trump planned to mark his 100th day in office on Saturday with a factory tour and a rally of the faithful in central Pennsylvania, returning to the populist and protectionist themes that fueled his improbable path to the White House. For Mr. Trump, the Saturday night rally in Harrisburg was a chance, after his turbulent debut in the White House, to bathe in the support of bedrock supporters and reaffirm his credentials as an insurgent bomb thrower determined to shake up what he has called the toxic, festering swamp of Washington. Mr. Trump scheduled the rally in lieu of attending the annual dinner of the White House Correspondents Association, which was to be held simultaneously in a hotel ballroom in Washington. The president's senior staff boycotted the dinner as a show of solidarity with their boss. Several of them planned to fly with him to Harrisburg. The potential split-screen image. Journalists dining in black tie at what is normally one of the most swish events on the Capitol's social calendar while Mr. Trump tours a factory that makes landscaping and gardening tools before speaking to a crowd at a farm show center, clearly delighted the White House. Earlier in the day, Mr. Trump said on Twitter, "The mainstream, fake media refuses to state our long list of achievements, including 28 legislative signings, strong borders and great optimism." Still, Mr. Trump's thumb in the eye to the reveling press corps felt a bit manufactured. He spent much of the past week giving interviews to the same reporters he was to snub on Saturday night, including Jeff Mason of Reuters, who serves as president of the Correspondents Association. White House officials had hoped to further vex the journalists by having Mr. Trump announce news in Harrisburg, which would spoil their evening, forcing them to set down their forks and knives and go to work. But a plan for the president to announce in Harrisburg, the United States was pulling out of the North American Free Trade Agreement fell through when Mr. Trump decided, after urgent phone calls on Wednesday from the leaders of Canada and Mexico, not to do it, at least for now. The White House then toyed with the idea of having Mr. Trump announce that he was ripping up the Korea Free Trade Agreement, but he stole his own thunder, telling the Washington Post on Thursday, the United States might terminate the 5-year-old agreement. "It's a horrible deal. It was a Hillary Clinton disaster. A deal that should have never been made," Mr. Trump said. In fact, President George W. Bush negotiated the agreement with South Korea in 2007, and President Barack Obama renegotiated it in 2010, which is effectively what Mr. Trump is now proposing to do. For Mr. Trump, the rally was to punctuate a week of frenetic, all-hands-on-deck self-promotion linked to the 100-day mark, a stock-taking milestone that he had earlier dismissed as artificial and a ridiculous standard. In addition to the president's multiple interviews, most of Mr. Trump's senior aides gave competing background briefings to reporters, in which they insisted that they were all part of a unified team under the president. Wilbur Ross, the courtly billionaire who serves as Commerce Secretary, appeared so often in the White House briefing room to announce new trade initiatives. By Friday afternoon, he introduced himself with the line "Me again," and lamented the shrunken turnout, suggesting that maybe he had worn out the press corps. Mr. Trump, however, did not flag in his superlative-laden claims. On Friday, he taped a weekly radio address in which he declared, with a rare caveat, "I truly believe The first 100 days of my administration has been just about the most successful in our country's history. He did not say which of his predecessors might have outdone him. The choice of Pennsylvania for the rally and factory tour was predictable, given the state's crucial role in propelling him past Mrs. Clinton in the Electoral College. It seemed calculated to produce a reliable crowd rather than, for example, helping the White House turn wavering Republican votes in its effort to repeal the Affordable Care Act. It also allowed Mr. Trump to escape the Capitol on a sweltering day when thousands rallied to protest his policies on climate change. Marching past Mr. Trump's luxury hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue, some carried placards that said, 100 Days of Destruction. Resist. Before his rally, Mr. Trump was to sign an executive order creating an Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy in the White House. Peter Navarro, an academic who shaped the Trump campaign's hardline trade message, is to head the office, raising his profile in an administration divided between economic nationalists and more traditional free traders. Its creation as a permanent office within the White House sends an important signal to the world. The United States will no longer tolerate trade cheating or allow our manufacturing and defense industrial base to wither and die, the White House said in a statement.